There is a level of discipline that looks like a mental illness to the untrained eye. It is a frightening, quiet consistency. It is the type of presence that makes a room go cold when you walk in. Most people operate on a spectrum of maybe. They negotiate with their pillows. They haggle with their mirrors. They are victims of their own moods. This isn't for them. This is about the archetype of the unbreakable, the person who has removed the word try from their internal lexicon. We are talking about the spirit of Miyamoto Musashi, a man who didn't just win duels, but who lived a life where a gap in practice was a gap in his soul. By the end of this, the version of Raphael that exists today will be dead. You are about to be initiated into a system of identity enforcement that makes failure impossible, because you no longer have a choice. This is the end of your freedom to be weak. This is the way. Raphael wakes up at 6 a.m. He stares at the ceiling. The air is cold, and the bed is worn. He thinks about the goal. He thinks about the person he promised he would become. Then, he hits the snooze button. On Monday, he is a lion. He tracks every calorie, hits every rep, and works until his vision blurs. He feels the transformation beginning. On Tuesday, the soreness sets in, but he pushes through. On Wednesday, a late meeting drains his battery. He tells himself he'll double the effort tomorrow. By Friday, the unbreakable version of Raphael is nowhere to be found. He is back in the cycle. He is scrolling, consuming, and drifting. He tells himself that next week will be different. Next week he'll have more willpower. Next week the world will stop being so heavy. He looks in the mirror and sees a stranger wearing his skin. He feels the rot of the unkept promise. It's a quiet, dull ache. The realization that his life is a series of restarts that never lead to a finish line. He isn't lazy. He isn't a failure. He is simply exhausted from the constant friction of having to decide to be great every single morning. He thinks he needs more motivation. He thinks he needs a better why. He is wrong. Raphael wasn't weak. He was fighting a war against biology, using a weapon that was never designed to win. He was fighting something he didn't understand. The secret isn't found in a better habit tracker. It is found in the smoke of ancient incense and the echo of temple bells. In the world of the samurai, there was a concept that separated the master from the corpse, the removal of the self from the equation. Raphael believes he is making choices. He thinks his life is a series of forks in the road where he must exert effort to turn right instead of left. This is his fundamental error. The ancient system of the warrior is built on the transition from reversible to irreversible commitments. A reversible commitment is a New Year's resolution. It is a private whisper. It is a secret deal you make with yourself in the dark, which means you can break it in the dark without anyone seeing the blood. But an irreversible commitment is a public execution of your old self. Centuries ago, when a man entered a monastery or a specialized school of the blade, he didn't try out a new lifestyle. He underwent a ritual that signaled to his community, his family, and his gods that the previous version of him no longer existed. He shaved his head. He took a new name. He wore a specific cloth. He created a social cage. True discipline is not an internal feeling. It is an external identity witnessed by others. It is the realization that I don't do this because I feel like it. I do this because I am the person who does this. The samurai did not decide to wake up and practice the kata. The bell rang and the body moved. The decision was made years prior, signed in ink and blood. When you shift from behavior-based change to identity-based enforcement, you stop negotiating. If you are a non-smoker, you don't resist a cigarette. You simply don't smoke. The temptation has no hook because it doesn't align with the physics of who you are. To become an unbreakable person with frightening consistency, Raphael must stop seeking motivation and start seeking a cage. He must declare his new identity so loudly and so publicly that to revert to his old ways would be a form of social and psychological suicide. He must move from the realm of should into the realm of must. They don't decide. They have already decided. The system is the master. The man is simply the vessel through which the system flows. Even with a new identity, the biology of the old Raphael remains. Inside the skull, a prehistoric machine is screaming. It doesn't care about Musashi. It doesn't care about frightening consistency. It cares about homeostasis, the preservation of energy, and the avoidance of pain. Every morning a civil war breaks out. The friction begins the moment the skin hits the cold air. This is the mental negotiation. It is a sophisticated silver-tongued lawyer living in your brain. It says, "You worked hard yesterday. Your muscles need recovery. If you burn out now, you'll ruin the whole week. Just 10 more minutes." This is where the warrior understands the physics of the soul. Discipline is not the absence of these thoughts. It is the refusal to engage in the debate. The moment you listen to the lawyer, you have already lost. You are treating your identity as a suggestion rather than a law. Think of your energy as a finite fuel. Every time you argue with yourself, should I go to the gym? Should I start the work? You are burning the very fuel you need to actually do the task. You are leaking power through the cracks of indecision. The warrior eliminates the leak by establishing fixed, non-negotiable time. Between 5:00 and 8:00, the person does not exist. Only the process exists. You do not check your phone. They do not check your feelings. You do not check the weather. The resistance you feel is not a sign that something is wrong. It is the sound of the old identity being crushed under the weight of the new one. The resistance is the work. You must view this friction as a physical weight. If you don't feel the burn of the no, you aren't growing. But Raphael must realize that the war never truly ends. The lawyer never stops talking, you just stop giving him a seat at the table. You learn to live with the noise without letting it move your hands. He manages to stand up. He manages to put on his shoes. He hasn't won the war, but he has won the first skirmish. It is a partial victory, a fragile bridge between the man he was and the machine he is becoming. The world will tell you that variety is the spice of life. The world is wrong. For the seeker of frightening consistency, variety is a toxin. It is a trap designed to make you choose, and choice is the mother of failure. Most people fail because they are constantly looking for a better way, a faster way, or a more enjoyable way. They are perpetually shopping for a life they are already supposed to be living. The warrior philosophy demands the destruction of the illusion of options. There is no what should I do. There is only the one way. You must turn your life into a rulebook so rigid it makes people uncomfortable. You eat the same fuel. You wake at the same second. You perform the same rituals in the same sequence. To the observer, this looks boring. To the mediocre, it looks like a prison. They will look at Raphael and say, "You're missing out. You're too intense. Why can't you just relax for once?" You must understand. Their concern is a confession of their own weakness. Their mockery is a defense mechanism. When you become a machine of habit, you become a mirror that reflects their lack of discipline back at them. They don't want you to be balanced. They want you to be as inconsistent as they are so they can feel better about their own stagnation. In this system, annoying is a feature, not a bug. The fact that your routine is rigid enough to irritate others is the signal that you are finally succeeding. You are building a life that is no longer compatible with the average experience. You must eliminate the menu of your life. If you have to think about what to wear, what to eat, or what order to work in, you are already losing ground to the chaos of the world. You must automate the mundane to liberate the profound. By making the logistics of your life dogmatic and repetitive, you free your mind to focus entirely on the mastery of your craft. The goal is to reach a state where you are no longer a participant in your own schedule. You are the observer of a pre-recorded program. There is no what if, there is no maybe later. There is only the track, and you are the train. The rails do not ask where they are going, they simply dictate the path. In the scrolls of the ancient masters, there is a concept known as guji. It is the principle of continuous practice without gaps. Most people view discipline like a light switch. They flick it on when they are on the clock, and flick it off the moment they feel they've done enough. They live a life of punctuated efforts, separated by long stretches of mental decay. But the warrior knows that the moment the blade stops moving, the rust begins to form. Think of a river. A river is only a river because it moves. If the water stops for a day, it becomes a pond. If it stops for a week, it becomes a swamp. The moment it stops, it dies. Your discipline is the same. There is no such thing as taking a day off from your identity. You can take a day off from the gym, but you cannot take a day off from being the person who is disciplined. We must redefine the difference between rest and retreat. A retreat is a collapse. It is a surrender to the old Raphael. Rest, however, is a tactical pause. It is a part of the system, not a break from it. Even when the warrior sleeps, he sleeps with the intention of the next battle. Even when he eats to provide the fire with wood. There is no gap. If you are a person of frightening consistency, then your consistency must exist on your worst day, your sickest day, and your loneliest day. If you only perform when the conditions are right, you are not disciplined. You are just lucky. The current of your life must be so strong that even when you hit a boulder, the water doesn't stop, it simply flows around it and keeps moving. You do not wait for the right time to start again, because you never stopped. The fire does not negotiate with the rain. It either burns through it or waits for the fuel to dry, but the heat remains at the core. The amateur prepares for success. The warrior prepares for the catastrophe. Most people fail not because they lack heart, but because they are blindsided by the predictable. They assume that their willpower will be available when the storm hits. They are wrong. Neuroscience tells us that will is a finite resource, a chemical battery that drains with every choice you make. This is called decision fatigue. By the time Raphael faces a true temptation at 8 p.m., his prefrontal cortex is offline. He is no longer a man, he is a hungry animal. To solve this, we use pre-solutions. We remove the decision-making process entirely under periods of stress. In the elite monasteries, there is no discussion about what happens when a brother falls ill or when the winter turns harsh. The protocol is already written. The response is automatic. You must build a logic tree of steel. You identify your failure points before they manifest. When X happens, I do Y. There is no debate. There is no feeling it out. If you wake up and the gym is closed, the pre-solution is already in place. 100 burpees in the living room. No thought required. If a project deadline moves up and you are exhausted, the pre-solution is coffee, silence, and 90 minutes of deep work before a single email is opened. If you are traveling and there is no healthy food, the pre-solution is you fast. You must treat your life like a military operation. A general does not wait for the ambush to decide where the troops should go. He has a contingency for the ambush. By pre-solving your obstacles, you preserve your mental energy for the actual execution. You are taking the human being element out of the crisis. When you operate this way, you become terrifying to others. Why? Because you are unflappable. While everyone else is panicking, weighing their options, and spiraling into indecision, you are simply executing Protocol B. You have already seen this movie. You have already won this fight in your mind months ago. The neural pathways of habit are deepened every time you execute a pre-solution without hesitation. You are telling your brain that the environment does not dictate your behavior. You are the constant, the world is the variable. You are teaching your nervous system that the answer already exists. When the crisis hits, you don't rise to the level of your expectations, you fall to the level of your systems. Raphael is no longer a victim of circumstance. He is the architect of his own inevitability. There is no discussion. The path is already paved. The man who started this journey is gone. He has been systematically dismantled and replaced. Raphael no longer looks for the light at the end of the tunnel because he has become the light. He has reached the final stage of the warrior philosophy, the death of effort and the birth of essence. When you reach this state, your life takes on a mythic quality. You move with a terrifying, calm certainty. You no longer try to be disciplined. You do not work on your habits. The heavy lifting is over. Because the identity has solidified, you have crossed the threshold where the discomfort of others is no longer a source of social anxiety, but a signal of your success. When they look at your life and see a strange ritualistic obsession, you simply see the baseline of existence. You are no longer fighting the current, you are the river itself. This is the rebirth. You have traded the cheap, fleeting pleasure of freedom for the profound, eternal power of mastery. You have surrendered the right to be average. People will ask how you do it. They will look for the secret trick or the hidden motivation. They will never understand that there is no secret. There is only the absence of a you to get in the way. Now you must seal the commitment. An identity unstated is a ghost. An identity declared is a law. You must witness yourself. You must make the world your audience, so that the cost of retreat becomes too high to pay. Raphael is gone. Only the system remains. He doesn't do it anymore. He is it.